Setting up a crates.io account. Before you can publish any crates, you need to create an account on crates.io and get a API token. To do so, visit the homepage at crates.io and log in via GitHub account. The GitHub account is currently required, but the site might not support other ways of creating an account in the future. Okay? Once you're logged in, visit your account settings at crates.io/me and retrieve your API key. Then run the cargo login command with your API key like this. I see. I'm not going to go through that process. I currently don't have an account. I probably will soon, but as of right now, I don't. But what they're saying essentially is that go to crates.io, you use your GitHub account to log in. Not exactly sure why they stuck to GitHub account, but sure. And then once you have an account, you can go to your profile and retrieve your API key. And then once you have your API key, in the terminal that you're writing in or wherever you're writing code, you can log in using cargo login. Hopefully have a logout too, because just in case you're using somebody else's computer, you might want to log out. Anyway, this command will inform Cargo of your API token and store it locally in .cargo/credentials. Note that this token is a secret. Do not share it with anyone else. If you do share it with anyone, for any reason, you should revoke it and generate a new token on crates.io. Understood? Earlier I said something about using somebody else's computer. That doesn't sound like a great idea if everything's going to be stored locally, especially if it's not encrypted. Even if it was encrypted, if you ever do that, revoke it immediately afterwards. Best practice. Adding metadata to a new crate. Now that you have an account, let's say you have a crate you want to publish. Before publishing, you need to add some metadata to your crate by adding it to the package section of the crate's cargo.toml file. Okay? You will need a unique name. While you're working on a crate locally, you can name a crate whatever you like. However, crate names on crates.io are allocated on the first come, first served basis. Once a crate name is taken, no one else can publish a crate with that name. Before attempting to publish a crate, search for the name you want to use on the site. If that name has been used by another crate, you will need to find another name and edit the name field in the cargo.toml file under the package section to use the new name for publishing, like so. So what they're saying here is, importantly, locally you can have your crate be named whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. However, once you export it and you're publishing it to crates.io, they allocate names on the first come, first served basis. So if you have a name locally and that name is already being used in public, you can't use that name. You're going to have to find a new name. But reorganizing your packets to use a different name locally could be annoying. So you could just do it in the cargo.toml file and add metadata to put in your new name. Okay. Even if you've chosen a unique name, when you run cargo publish to publish the crate at that point, you'll get a warning and then an error. What? Cargo publish, updating registry, blah, 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 blah. Warning, manifest has no description, license file, documentation, homepage, or repository. API errors, missing or empty metadata fields, description, license. Oh, they want a lot of information. Okay. The reason is that you're missing some crucial information. A description and license are required so people will know what your crate does and under what terms they can use it. To rectify this error, you need to include this information in the cargo.toml file. Add a description that is just a sentence or two because it will appear with your crate in search results. For the license field, you need to give the license identifier value. The Linux Foundation Software Package Data Exchange, SPDX, lists the identifiers you can use for this value. For example, to specify that you've licensed your crate using the MIT license, add the MIT identifier. So here's the name, here's the license identifier, I don't see a description yet, but they added here. Cool. Okay, so some things that are mandatory: a name, a license, and description. Description should be short because it's going to be next to your search results. And just let's see an example of that real quick though. So let's search for, I don't know, algorithms. And I spelled that wrong. Here's an exact match. And here's a description, seemingly. And here's a description that's slightly longer. But it's still 2 sentences. Yeah, they're pretty short. Understood. Let's go back to where we were. If you want to use a license that doesn't appear in the SPDX, you need to place the text of the license in a file, include the file in your project, and then use license-file to specify the name of that file instead of using the license key. Okay? Guidance on which license is appropriate for your project is beyond the scope of this book. Many people in the Rust community license their projects in the same way as Rust by using a dual license or MIT or Apache 2.0. This practice demonstrates that you can also specify multiple license identifiers separated by or to have multiple licenses for the project. So what they're stating here is that giving us advice on which license to use for our project is well beyond the scope of this book. And that's a entire can of worms in itself. But what is common practice, at least among the Rust community, is to use the same licensing as the language itself, which is MIT or Apache 2.0. And this also demonstrates that you can have multiple licenses, and you separate them by using the OR syntax. With a unique name, the version, the are the details that Cargo New added when you created the crate, your description, and a license added, the cargo.tama file for a project that is ready to publish might look like this. That is long and wordy, and all they're really saying is, here's an example of what a package that is being ready to be published looks like the basic information. Some of this stuff was added via Cargo New, probably the author portion addition, because that's the version of Rust that you're running. This may have been generated by them. They give you a starting point, and you can just increment that up or down. This we added ourselves. This we also added ourselves, and so did the description, I think. Cargo's documentation describes other metadata you can specify to ensure others can discover and use your crate more easily. Okay, that should be reviewed. Moving onward. Publishing to crates.io. Now that you've created an account, saved your API token, chosen a name for your crate, and specified the required metadata, you're ready to publish. Publishing a crate uploads a specific version to crates.io for others to use. Be careful when publishing a crate because publish is permanent. The version can never be overwritten and the code cannot be deleted. One major goal of crates.io is to act as a permanent archive of code so that builds of all projects that depend on crates from crates.io will continue to work. Allowing version deletions would make fulfilling that goal impossible. However, there is no limit to the number of crate versions you can publish. Okay, so right here they're telling us to be wary that everything we publish is permanent and cannot be deleted and will forever, ever exist. With that being said, you can publish as many versions as you want, so if you want to keep on iterating over your project, by all means do so. And the reason they have this in place is to ensure backwards compatibility. So let's say tomorrow I build a project, and I use package X, Y, and Z that are version X, Y, and Z, version A, B, C. 10 years from now, all that stuff should still work because Crates.io did not change any of that. The authors of those packages, the authors of my dependencies weren't allowed to change anything in terms of those specific versions that I'm using. And if everything stays the same, it should all still work. At least that's the philosophy behind it. Run the cargo publish command again. It should succeed now. And then we have cargo publish, updating registry, packaging. We have the file. Here's the name, the verifying, compiling it, finished, dev. They used the dev, understood. Congratulations. You've now shared your code with the Rust community, and anyone can easily add your crate as a dependency of their project. Whew, that's kind of scary. Other people depending on my code. Whew. Publishing a new version of an existing crate. When you made changes to your crate and you're ready to release a new version, you change the version value specified in your cargo.toml file and republish. Use the semantic versioning rules to decide what an appropriate next version number is based on the kinds of changes you've made, and then run cargo publish to upload the new version. So yeah, basically what they're saying here is if you want to publish a new version, the only thing you really have to change is the version number. And in terms of the version number, they want you to adhere to semantic versioning rules, which is pretty straightforward. You can review them in your own time. But yeah, that's the iteration process seems relatively straightforward and simple. And one last thing. Removing versions from cargo.io with cargo yank. Although you can't remove previous versions of a crate, you can prevent any future projects from adding them as a new dependency. This is useful when a crate version is broken for one reason or another. In such situations, Cargo supports yanking a crate version. Yanking a version prevents new projects from starting to depend on that version while allowing all existing projects that depend on it to continue to download and depend on that version. Essentially, a yank means that all projects with a cargo lock will not break, and any future cargo.lock files generated will not use the yanked version. So this makes sense to me. So one, they said that once you publish something to cargo, it's going to be there permanently. And in the scenario where I publish something and I know there's a mistake in it, probably a major mistake if I want to yank it, I can prevent new people from downloading it. And in the interim, in this entire scenario, I probably fix that mistake and publish a new version and allow them to download that. Granted. But so what the yank does is anybody who's currently using that project, using that version that has the mistake in it, they can continue using it because we want to make sure backward compatibility is still a thing. However, new people will not be able to use it. They'll be forced to use a different version, whether it be a version previous to that one or a version after that one. It's the best you can do in a bad situation, pretty much. To yank a version of a crate, run cargo yank and specify which version you want to yank. So cargo yank version, bam. By adding undo to the command, you can also undo a yank and allow process to start depending on the version again. Oh, you can undo yanks. That makes sense. Since everything is permanently on cargo.io, whether or not somebody can download it is probably just a Boolean flag saying yanked. And then if you want to unyank it, change that flag to not yanked. That makes sense because the code is always, they still have it. A yank does not delete any code. Yeah, makes sense. Just said that. For example, the yank feature is not intended for deleting accidentally uploaded secrets. If that happens, you must reset those secrets immediately. Oh, so yeah. This is just another warning. Everything you post is public. If you accidentally have API keys or something that should remain secret in your code and you post it to crates.io, you need to reset those immediately because now everybody will have access to it forever. You cannot delete it. They're very explicit about that. Thank you. And that concludes this video. Hope it was entertaining. Hope it was useful. Hope you learned something. I know I did. If you like it, subscribe. Outside of that, peace.